because well, I just heard this morning I'm over on the Big Island and the volcanoes are going off. We got officially the 30-second episode of this last volcanic eruptions just started going off this morning. So
Wow.
you have to get it over here
Wow.
while it's hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Be safe. No, I'm definitely not trying to go with a volcanic eruption. So I'll wait till that passes or come right before that.
Man, and that is a volcanic way to start this podcast, man. So some
That's
people
right.
build businesses to scale, others build them to be seen, but every once in a while, someone builds to remember, to preserve, to honor the land they came from and the people who came before. So today's guest is one of those people. This is Legacy Decoded, and today we're unpacking what it means to be a protector of place, story, and soul. This is a podcast for long-term vision, beat short-term hacks where every decision is made with future generations in mind. I'm Kalei Poti, and today's episode is a sacred one. Our guest is Eddie Kali'i Nohoboku, native Hawaiian, co-founder of Go Tours Hawaii, and someone who doesn't just talk legacy, he actually lives it. So with every tour, every decision, and every moment of presence. So this isn't just a business story, it's a blueprint for anyone trying to build something meaningful without losing their roots. Eddie, I just want to thank you again for jumping on with us today, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the awesome introduction, man. It's great to be here with you guys.
Absolutely, man. I was just curious. So when people ask who you are specifically, how do you answer beyond titles?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a son of the islands, son of Hawaii, born and raised here. Obviously, I have, ancestral ties. I'm what you would call, Hapa Hawaiian, so, mixed breed, but very much, very, very,
Nice.
I would say connected to my culture here in the islands, as well as just a immense love for this very beautiful place. I find it,
Excellent.
I feel very lucky and grateful to be able to live and work here.
100%, man. And my little sister, she goes to Kamehameha right now.
Oh,
So
nice.
she's having the time of her life, man. But what did your childhood on the islands kind of teach you about responsibility?
Yeah, honestly, I grew up in a very small fishing village, on the Big Island. So you've got different islands, and every island has, its own special thing about it, right? And I often get the question, "What's your favorite island?" And I'm like, that's like asking, "What's your favorite child?" Every single one of them has, a special beauty about it. So I grew up over on the Big Island of Hawaii, and I'm actually here right now. But our main operations are over on the Big on Oahu.
Mm,
But yeah, it was a very slow upbringing. I grew up, living off the land, the ocean, fishing, diving, hunting. And then early on, my family was in the tourism industry, so it kind of got embedded in me. And I think what I take from that is just, being able to pass on, perpetuate the culture, right? As well as just, having a place where people can come and explore and learn.
mm,
And so I feel, like for me, being able to be in this industry, the tourism industry, it's a double-edged sword because, we are getting overran by tourists. But
mm,
I do believe that, there's a responsible way to host them, right? And so part of our tours and experience now are teaching our visitors to be more mindful travelers, right? And I think it's not only Hawaii, the destinations around the world are feeling the heavy tourism and the effects that it's having.
mm.
So I
Let me
think
jump in
us
real
as
quick. Ed.
stewards of the place that
Oh,
we're
my bad. Oh, yeah. So
showcasing,
I
we
know,
have to have that in
before we even
mind
got
as
in the
well.
pod, you mentioned, and even now,
Yeah,
how closely tied
that's a great
you
point,
are to
man.
the culture, to the people, to sort of protecting your people and making sure you promote. So before Go Tours Hawaii, what legacy did you feel called you to protect? To have that feeling of protect and cultivate the island.
Yeah, I mean, our natural resources, one, our natural resources are finite, and so it's really, protecting one, the legacy of this rich cultural heritage that we have here in the islands, as well as, like I said, our natural resources, the beautiful places and stuff. So, you know, when people are out there exploring, making sure that they're, whatever
Love
they're
that.
bringing in, they're
Being a good
taking out,
steward,
right? They go to
I
the
would say.
beach. It's respecting that and not leaving cans of beers on the beach, you know, um, stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, man.
I will add too. Another thing that you know I find really important is, I'm in the tourism industry, right? And I run tour buses around the island. So I'm in transportation. And another really important thing for us is making sure that the messaging
Hmm.
that's going out is what we would call pono. Pono is like righteousness, or, it's factual, right? And, we have a little bit of history of, tour guides kind of just winging it. So they'll jump in and, whatever the tour company might just toss the guy in and go, okay, just kind of wing it and you'll figure it out as you go. They throw them a couple of tours, do some training. And so it's really important to us to make sure that our guides are representing, us as a company, but also representing the islands in doing it justice, and that means telling factual information. And of course, like, it has to be fun, right? So cracking jokes and stuff is very important, but making sure that they're not just making up stories along the way,
Mm.
which was something that had been happening for a long time.
What's one thing that you believe outsiders kind of misunderstand about Hawaii?
You know, people live here. It's just not a beach on a postcard. So what happens, a lot of visitors, they come out here and they really end up in places that they probably shouldn't be.
Mm.
There's, like we call specific places like heiaus, eevees, which are, ancient burial grounds, or heiaus, which is ritualistic places of, our ancestors, the native Hawaiian people, or we call them kanaka maole. And
Mm.
so these guys are ending up, on places, in places that, they really shouldn't be. And so I think, as well as in people's backyards sometimes, it could just be they see a hike on, online somewhere. They find a hike that somebody did a blog post about, not realizing that they have to cross through somebody's backyard. And so
Mm.
I think it's just people actually live here, and so, having that in mind. And I think a lot of times they misunderstand that.
Gotcha. I'd love to know, how do you specifically, when you think about drawing the line between growth and integrity, what does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I mean, I think it's important to move with integrity with everything you do, not only in business, but, personal life. As far as growth goes, I'd say that, man, you're hitting me with some questions here. Growth and integrity here. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, like, when you start a business, you're going to want to grow it, right? And some people step on other people's backs to get to that point, and some people build a tribe, work together and do right, right? And when you're talking about integrity, it's, doing the right thing, even when no
Mm.
one's looking, you know? And so one of my favorite quotes is, rising tides lifts all ships. Meaning, if you're doing good, everyone around you should be coming up too,
Mm.
right? Everyone around you. And so, when you grow, like, if you want to grow in business, I think it's super important to make sure that you bring along the people that are in the trenches with you. And so, yeah, growth and integrity, I think to me, it means building a team, working with the team, and making sure everyone is rising together, climbing the mountain,
Mm.
getting up to the top of the mountain and not being the only person there, being able to turn around, reach a hand out, and pull your brothers and your sisters up along with you.
100%, man. Can you share a moment where you had to kind of make a hard decision?
Man, those hard decisions come every other day, to be honest with you. In a dynamic business that we operate, I mean, there's just so many moving parts. Over the last 10 years, we've grown to, 100 people, and we have 100 employees right now. I just heard a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just like, how did we even get here? Well, it came from making a lot of hard decisions. I'd say, going back to COVID, hard decision, having to let go of people,
Mm.
knowing that the whole state was going to be shut down. It's a pretty bitter pill to swallow, I'd say. But, even if it's like, having to let go of somebody because it's just they're not working out, or you're not jiving within the organization.
Mm.
We bring on managers, or leadership roles. And, I'm dealing with that right now. I have a digital marketing manager that, it's just, we're just not clicking and it's not working. So, I'm going to have to, pull the plug on that relationship, you know?
Mm,
And so that's hard. And I think it really comes down to like the people, and that like, it's people's lives too, right? And their livelihood. You're making that hard decision on behalf of the company, but also thinking and considering that person as well.
mm,
So yeah, I mean, those hard decisions, they come frequently, that's for sure. And I think you kind of gotta in business, you gotta have that rhino skin. There's a part of like caring, being a genuine person, and appreciating your team and your people. But if they're not hitting the mark, sometimes you gotta make that hard decision. So I brought that up because I'm going through it right now. I'm
mm.
actually in the middle of letting go of someone, a leader in the company. So
Gotcha, man. Yeah. Yeah, that is very true, man. That is definitely a hard decision to make, when you're thinking about the benefits of the company, man. I like to know as well, man, when you think about like the next generation, what do you hope they kind of inherit?
I'll tell you what, it's a different world that this next generation is gonna grow up in.
Mm,
I think about it with my daughter, and just the advancement in AI, the detachment from, personal connection, right? And we've seen it over the last 15, 20 years with social media and everybody just so attached to their devices,
mm.
not being able to step back and really, and I sound like an old fart every time I say this, but I'm like, to step back and really appreciate the world around you,
Yeah.
where you are right now, not the virtual world. And so, I hope because, there's just so many beautiful experiences to be had,
Mm,
and I hope that the next generation can disconnect more from the virtual world and enjoy the
mm.
world around them, and people in real life.
No, I totally get it, man. I think that's actually been a huge topic of discussions and a lot of conversations I've been having. It's just that need for connection. We took a trip out to Tulum just for a retreat and just kind of to get regrounded, and reconnect, and we kind of had another experience where me and Jonah went to a conference in Orlando where it was building more of that community in-person event where people can kind of reconnect outside of just that digital space. So I totally get it. I think people are gonna definitely, be wanting more of that moving forward. And you brought up a good point as well, AI. I'd love to know, are you guys using AI at all in the business? Is it something, is it something that you think will kind of benefit you guys in any way?
Dude, if you're not using it right now, I mean, you better start. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, because this is the next frontier,
Mm,
honestly, for business owners. And I think people are just, everyone's using it in their day-to-day lives, and it's advancing rapidly,
mm,
and so, that brings up another thing. It's like, you look at a lot of careers now, they're slowly starting to, over the next couple years, it's like there's going to be literally whole industries, or job titles are going to be a thing of the. I mean, it's non-existent anymore. You look at
mm,
like already, like pretty soon, they're not going to need coders for software programs. You know, look at like writers. I mean, the most, like all of that stuff can be done in
mm.
3 seconds. And so yeah, a lot of things are changing. And so I really think, I mean, if I was just getting out of school, or in getting ready to go into school, or getting ready to start my career, I'd probably be looking at stuff that AI might not be able to replace.
Mhm,
Plumbing, electrical jobs, trades.
mhm.
And dude, I just got a Tesla a couple months ago, and the thing is driving me everywhere. And now I wonder about, the trucking industry, and how that's going to be affected in the next 5, 10 years. I mean,
Mm.
you guys, all over the mainland, we have self-driving cars, right? Like
Yeah,
the
they're
taxis.
actually they've been testing. It's a company called Aurora. I'm not sure if you heard of them just yet, but they actually have live trucks going from like Houston to Dallas, completely driving themselves right now, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, and you know what the biggest challenge in transportation? CDL drivers. And like,
Uh,
it's like what's gonna, and I don't know what the direction is or what, but I'm sure there's a lot of people in the AI industry
mm,
and transportation and automakers and truck manufacturers are probably trying to figure that out right now.
mm.
Like you said, or is it called Aurora?
Aurora, yep.
Yeah. So how's that going for them? Are
They've
they
been
getting pretty close or
no, they're doing it. They're on
oh
the
they're doing
road.
it already. They're on the road.
They're on the road, man. They started like
Holy
nighttime.
crap.
That nighttime, they'll run them nighttime. I think it's like a 3 or 4 hour drive from Houston to Dallas. They've been testing it for a while, but yeah, if you look them up, you'll see it. They've been letting them rock and roll. So yeah, it's here.
Dang man. I know it's here. It's here. So yeah, I mean, you asked me earlier what would I want to leave with the next generation. It's like figure get into this now, get a good understanding of it, really understand its capabilities, figure out how to coexist
Mm,
because it's here and it's happening rapidly. It's changing fast and there's new things that are coming out every day.
yeah. You spoke a little bit about um the digital marketing position you were thinking about letting go. When you think about marketing, what do you guys typically, what's the go-to when it comes to kind of getting more visibility?
Yeah, well, I think marketing is telling your story, right, as a brand,
Mm,
right at the end of the day. And so, luckily, beautiful beaches, the rainforest, the dramatic mountain ridges. So we're really lucky in that sense. So a lot of images, a lot of video. We've been leaning a lot on video marketing,
mm,
social media. SEO is another thing on the chopping block, it seems like.
mm,
Because more and more people now, instead of going to Google and searching, how to get to the North Shore on Oahu, they're just doing it in ChatGPT or, one of the other chat services, and they're getting
mm,
instant information,
mm,
and so less people, and I know that Google is rolling out, they have their own, AI features and stuff, but I think a lot of things are changing on the SEO side and typical stuff that we normally do, it's not going to be relevant anymore. So that's another
mm,
rapidly changing landscape that we're constantly keeping an eye on and shifting. And then really, at the end of the day, it's about adapting.
mm.
And the only thing constant to me, and especially as a business owner, the only thing constant is change.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time, and being in business is dynamic, and so things are changing and you just got to try your best to stay on top of trends on what's the consumer moving towards, what are their, how are they getting their information, how are they finding
Mm,
you. So yeah, I mean, we have a pretty solid marketing team. I mean, you know it's multifaceted. As a tour operator in Hawaii, we've got, we manage our own desks, tour desks at hotels,
mm,
activity shops, throughout, a lot of the popular areas. Like, for example, Waikiki, we've got tour desks and activity locations with salespeople. So that's direct,
mm.
that's going to be our strongest because people are walking by and we have agents and salespeople that are going, hey guys, you guys want to go see, go check out the waterfalls, or, you guys want to go do
Mm,
a hike this morning or whatever it is. Um, and then we've got partnerships, right? OTAs, we call them online travel agencies. So we've got, every website online that's booking tours and activities. Well, we're contracted with them. And so we've
Mm,
got that channel and that's feeding us business. And then, of course, we've got, our digital space, our website and our socials and stuff. But, you know, the best marketing you could ever do is provide a really freaking good product.
mm,
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Your goal as a business owner, as an operator is, I mean, for what I do, or really any business, is to create raving fans. You want people to become a part of your tribe, your family, we call it ohana in Hawaii, but you want them to become fans of what you do. And so a part of that is obsessing about the experience that they're going to have.
Mm,
And that's the best kind of
gotcha.
marketing you can really do. And at the end of the day, the reviews don't lie.
Mm,
And so for us, it's really important getting those reviews is like, it's telling other travelers that, hey, this is the company that actually cares.
absolutely, man. Yeah, great service, I think wins every time. You said you had 100 employees. How big is the fleet that you guys have at the moment?
Yeah, so we've got, man, we just added a couple 40s. So we operate different style of vehicles.
Mm,
We've got, you know, ranging from Ford Transits to Sprinter vans, mostly on the outer islands. And the reason we do that is because, it's pretty difficult to get CDL drivers on outer islands.
mm,
It's already difficult on the main island, but so we usually operate smaller van style, and we've got about 12 vans here on the Big Island. Um, another 4 or 5 of those, and a couple, maybe 4 buses over on the Maui, and then on Oahu we have 16. See here, no, we've got 12, 24 passengers, and then we've got another 240 passengers. Yeah, so we're in over 20 something in our fleet right now.
nice, nice. Why do you think it's a challenge to get CDL drivers on the island? Is it more so there's just not enough of them, or are they kind of losing the licenses, or what's kind of going on?
I think it is one, there's just not enough people going out and getting their CDL.
Mm,
We're also competing with some of the city bus guys and some of the other trucking companies. It's a little bit more niche in what we do because our guides aren't only
mm,
driving, they're also giving an experience. They're
mm,
narrating, they're telling stories, they're entertaining. So I think tour guiding is one of the most difficult jobs in this line of work
mm,
because of the fact that not only are these guys making sure that their bus is safe in the morning when they come in and their customers are safe when they've got them on board, but they're also basically catering to them all day. So our guys are out for about 9 hours with 40 people, and
mm.
so they're chauffeuring them, they're speaking all day long, and so it's a very not all it's tiresome on the mind.
Yeah.
So I really give them a lot of credit for what they do. I think it's just it definitely takes a special type of person to be able to not only just be a CDL driver, but also be an entertainer. So I think it's having CDL drivers, one, and then also one secondly is a CDL driver that has a personality, a friendly personality, and those two, it's a unique combination.
Yeah, that's definitely a unique conversation. A lot of CDL holders that I know are definitely a different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, man. I think that is probably the first time I've heard that explained that way. For someone that's been on the island for so long and kind of probably most likely explored so many different parts of it, what's your favorite place on the island to you?
Man, honestly, I would say my favorite place or the place that I can go to and feel like everything, all of my worries, all of my stress, all of my and the place that gives to me spiritually is a place called Kealakekua Bay, and it's on the southern part of the big island of Hawaii, southwest. It's about 20 minutes from Kona.
Mm.
It's a very, very beautiful and culturally rich place. They said thousands of Hawaiians, native Hawaiians, lived here in this bay. And so, yeah, in fact, I'm looking forward to after this, probably headed down there and going and jumping in the ocean.
Man,
Like I
I'm
said, I
jealous, man.
traveled this morning. I was on a flight. I got up at 4 a.m. I had to pop over here because we got some paperwork and some stuff I got to do here on this island. So
Mm,
yeah, again, Kealakiko is on the Big Island. I live over on the island of Oahu or Honolulu,
mm.
what most people know it as. Yeah, I popped on a flight this morning and I was like, the first thing I was thinking was like, oh man, I'm gonna get in that crystal clear blue water.
Yes, sir. I love that, man. How has spirituality kind of played a part in the success for you as an entrepreneur?
This is a good question, and I was just talking to someone about it recently. When it comes to spirituality, I'm not like I don't go to church every Sunday.
Mm,
My church and where I find where I feel like there's a present of something greater than myself is being in nature, is being in the ocean,
mm,
is being in the mountains, and how it plays into what I do. It's interesting because like with anything, you got to have like a deeper sense of purpose in what you're doing in business. And if you don't have that as the bare minimum, the foundation in what you're doing, when things get tough and things aren't going your way and you're struggling and you've got obstacles and you have nothing grounding you and giving you a reason to keep pressing forward. You know what
mm.
I mean? And so, I always think it's so important to make sure that you have that foundation, that deeper meaning to what you're doing. And I find that in, not only spirituality and just, how I can go, I'll give you an example. I think I must have been about 20, early 20s. And at the time, well, my girlfriend at the time went on a helicopter tour and we're flying along these cliff sides and there's like 25 waterfalls, the tallest sea cliffs in the world. I
Mm,
mean, so dramatic, so epic. And we're looking down this coastline and it's just so overwhelming. Like, we call it chicken skin, or goosebumps on the,
yeah.
most people call it, where your hair on your arms will stick up. And I look over, my girlfriend is just crying, sobbing. And I was like tearing up too. And I was just like this overwhelming, like, wow, this is our home. And you almost feel that, like that deep connection and gratitude. And so, yeah, it comes from like I think just a deep love of this place, a deep
Mm.
love of the people, and again, you're planting your flag and going, "This is why I'm doing what I'm doing." And so, no matter how tough it gets, no matter what comes your way, you're gonna find it within yourself to keep pressing forward. And I think that's how you can connect spirituality and a deeper meaning and purpose in the work that you're doing.
I love that, man. I think you hit a lot of major points, and I love that story. I could kind of just see it in my head actually on what that actually looked like. And Hawaii is a very special place, man. I think it's a
Yeah.
very divine place. So as an entrepreneur that has, continued to find success in his craft, what do you feel is kind of working well for you guys right now and kind of what's like been the most frustrating?
Yeah, I think the company culture has been really one of our I'd say this is one of our strengths. It's like you'll see in companies where morale is low and you've got a couple bad apples and things aren't flowing. And then you see a company that it just seems like everyone is happy and things are just flowing. And I think our biggest strength is our company culture and our investment in our people. Something that's really kind of bothering me right now or something that isn't going my way and a lot of times it's just things that are out of your hands. Currently right now, we're seeing a major decline in tourism.
Mm,
So, I was just looking at graphs and I mean, we're just and this started, summer is typically our busiest season, and it gets, this is where, we earn the bread, so to speak. And this summer was just pretty lackluster. It was, we're all a little bit disappointed in the numbers
Mm,
and the results. But yeah, again, you can't control it. I had a 2 hour, I was talking with my business partner for 2 hours last night. And I'm just like, dude, what is going on? Like, we pulled up the graphs and we're looking at the graphs and you could see past years, because the Visitors Bureau actually has statistics, of all the visitor arrivals and they keep track
mm,
of all that stuff. So yeah, it's just, and it started, I would say the drop off happened right in May, and we just seen like the lowest numbers we've seen in years
mm,
coming into Hawaii. So I think it's economic stuff. It's, some political things going on, right? And, new things happening with, the current administration. And, so I think that has a lot of effect on what's going on, obviously, because it's definitely a major, major shift, and I think travelers right now, and I think in general in the US, I think people are kind of tightening their belts a little bit, and the first thing to go is luxury items, right? When you're tightening the belt. So, you're not going to do those $10,000, Hawaiian vacations anymore. And so, yeah, that's kind of been, a little bit of a struggle. And this is sort of a new thing, because as of June, we're starting to see like, what's, where's that? Why are we not like, why don't we have all of our drivers and guides complaining that they're working too much,
mm.
you know? So,
That's interesting. Yes, definitely an interesting time with, the economic things that's going on right now. I guess where do you guys, if you had to project like after this summer, like in the next 6 to 12 months, where do you guys kind of looking to go?
well, we're expanding. I mean, I just expanded over to the Big Island. So, in the last couple years, we've been acquiring companies
Nice.
and kind of chomping at the market share.
Mm,
And so, I know what it takes to start a business, and I'm at a point where now it's about acquisitions for me and looking at companies that are already established that have goodwill, branding, and going in and just purchasing the business. And
mm,
so, yeah, right now we're on Oahu, Maui, and the Big Island, and I think I'm good. I think we're good where we are right now, and it's just about plugging the holes, and just we put a lot of time in over the last year of just creating all of our systems, because we were going through growing pains. We were a lot of hiring, a lot of training, a lot of I mean, to run a company that is, it's operations, right? And so,
mm,
especially in the transportation business, you got people all over the place. You got people on different islands. We're moving hundreds of people a day,
mm,
right? And so, we've got people up on this part of the island and this part of the island, and it's we've got salespeople in different locations around popular tourist destinations. And we've got, so it's just like, it's the spread outness of everything and how spread out we are. Like, you really got
mm,
to have a good operational, solid systems and processes behind everything.
mm,
And it's building those systems and processes and using all the tools available.
mm.
So, like we talked about AI, but also software programs, making sure that you have finger on the pulse, getting a big data set and having it all come to you all at once. Like, you being able to really see everything
Mm,
at a glance, so you can, like I said, having a finger on the pulse.
gotcha. What do you think has worked well on the tech side of things as far as the operational piece? Is it certain softwares that you guys use? Is it communication systems?
Yeah, 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 yeah. We've got, for inventory, we call it, or availability, managing the fleet and our inventory, because we've only got X amount of seats, X amount of drivers, and X amount of buses,
Mm,
right? And so, we use a software program that manages our manifest, because these people got to be picked up at certain places in the morning, and we have to gather a lot of information. So it's a quasi CRM system that we use, and so that's been really helpful. And it also, lets us create bookings and collect payment all in one system. So we're collecting, all of the customer information. We're getting good amount of miscellaneous data sets that we're getting. Everything happening on board and on the bus. So, we could see if there's disgruntled customers or, dash cam stuff, AI. So now talking about AI, we're we've got AI set up where it's showing if the driver is distracted on their phone,
Mm,
smoking a cigarette in our vehicles or using their,
mm,
like, it's tracking all of that stuff, and it's all based on AI, and we just get pings and notifications. It tells us if they're speeding, it tells us if they're hard braking, it tells us if they're idling too long. And so we could
mm,
set the parameters on that.
mm,
So yeah, that system's been pretty good. It's a little clunky. It could be better, but it does have, we get in any incidents out on the road, any fender benders, accidents, we'll have a way to be able to look back on it. So we've got like 4 cameras rigged up on the back, going out the front, in the cabin. So
nice.
yeah. So
Nice, man.
miscellaneous different things that we use for the operation side, different software programs.
Nice, man. And I definitely want to be respectful of your time as we wrap up. I got maybe two more questions. It
Yeah,
sounds like,
and I'm on 3%. I'm on 3%, so I'm like getting a little like low battery anxiety. I'm like, oh
yeah.
God, I hope I don't cut off when we're right in the middle of it.
Well, we'll keep these quick, man. Because it sounds like you're a big data guy. Which metrics are you guys most focused on improving?
As far as our what we could improve on, I would say it's probably gonna be, our labor costs and
Mm,
the efficiency that we're getting out of it. We've this last round of onboarding was, a lot of management roles, a lot of office admin stuff. And
mm,
so, it's making sure that we're getting production out of these new hires,
mm.
and actually production out of our team in general.
Mm.
And that's a hard
Gotcha.
one. It's a hard one to calculate.
Yeah, definitely understandable. And last question, man. If you could solve one major challenge today, what would that actually be?
I think a big challenge we brushed up on it a little bit, and it's the locals here in Hawaii and most of the people that are from Hawaii and their view of tourism and how it should be managed.
Mm,
I think, again, tourism always has a place here. It's the number one industry, second to, or I think it's the military industrial complex, and then it's tourism.
mm,
So yeah, I think it's just, awareness of what we do as, operators, tours, and they're not really about us. It's more of just a general, the tourism has gotten out of control. We're feeling it. We're feeling the strain. And I think it's just maybe having, instead of talking about changing things, actually making an effort to do something about it instead of talking about it.
mm. Gotcha, man. Well, Eddie didn't just walk us through a business journey. He kind of gave us a master class in presence, protection, and purpose. This is just a reminder that culture isn't content, it's actually what you live, it's breathing, it's sacred. And if this conversation stirred something in you and ached to build more soulfully, to lead with deeper reverence, don't let that fade. Take one small step today toward honoring what's sacred in your work. And if this episode moved you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who's building, someone who's healing, remembering. Let's try to amplify these stories that deserve to echo far beyond algorithms. Again, this is Legacy Decoded. I'm Kalei Poteet. And remember, legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you choose to live right now. And if anybody was looking to get in contact with you, Eddie, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can hit me up on Instagram. I'm super active there, or email. So if you want to link both of those, that would be awesome. I'm on 1%. This was an awesome podcast. Thank you so much, Clay. I really appreciate you. And hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely, man.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Nice, man. That was awesome.